Austin.
Yes.
Morning.
Okay, we are going to call to order the meeting of the Examining Board of Plumbers on April 8th, 2024. First order of business is to read last meeting's minutes and put them into the record. We last met on February 5th, 2024. At that time, we had two applications for a plumbing license. Both applications were not approved by unanimous decision, and letters were sent to both of the applications with a detailed explanation of the decision. After that, I made a motion to adjourn and we adjourned. And I would like to move these minutes into the record. Any motion?
Second.
All right, these minutes are now approved and put on record. This week's agenda includes an application. Pat, do we have an application?
Yeah, we have
for
two.
Two applications for master plumber licenses. Pass that around, review those, take a vote.
Send one each way.
Thank you.
We make copies of this too, Pat?
I didn't.
Okay.
I can.
Uh,
Another room while we're going
yeah,
through
why
the
don't we see if we can get a copy of that from the treasurer's office? Get 4 copies there. I've already read it. I don't need a copy.
Have you seen this?
No.
Yeah, that's there should be more, but there's that.
Yes.
21 days.
As you know, while they're reading, for the record, I will also take attendance. John Hardy is here. Fred Mayer is here. Art Monaco, myself, and Patrick Knapp, and Michael Piccirilli. So we have a full attendance today.
I could really even
No
read.
absentees.
I could really even read his handwriting.
I see they shut down that cafeteria over in the state office building. That used to be a lively place years ago.
Yeah, so Danny's Diner is currently not working.
Is it closed permanently?
They'll probably just waiting for somebody else to run it.
Or they lease it for.
I think so, because Danny used to just sell the popcorn there and then he was running the whole show. And now he's.
Don't they have to
retired.
be disabled to get that job?
I don't know.
I believe they do. Or they have a preference.
Uh-huh.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, for one short. You gotta share with her.
What's the test they take for the plumbers? You know offhand? Which test they take, which ICC test?
Have you seen it yet?
I have not. Okay.
It's,
I was looking it up at the cell service here. Somebody should talk to IT
See my
about
copy.
this. The cell service here is lacking.
G24.
Oh, okay, that is the one.
Only.
That, yeah, that's the one that I saw here. I was like, is that even the right test? This is the F-24. That's what I was wondering. This guy's taking, did not take the G-24. Interesting. Because if we wanted to be a master plumber, then you would take. You would take the G-24N. This individual took the F-24, National Standard Master Plumber. We might want to clarify that one before.
Well, that's,
we-
I'm sorry, Chris, that's the guy. He has a state license in Florida.
Okay,
So he called and asked if, we recognize that. I said, no, it's not reciprocal.
if he was doing a Master B for one job, one time, we might approve that. But he just took this test on 12/27/23. What's this test? He took the G-24. Okay. You wanna see this one, guys? Have you seen that one? I got it. We'll go this way with
Did
this
he,
guy.
did he take, did he
He
show
took-
his W2 form?
No,
There's no proof. He's got a letter from an employer. That's it.
Oh,
Doesn't work.
right.
okay.
It's like having your mother write me a note.
No, I mean, it helps that it's notarized from the building owner, but it should be on, company letterhead.
Which application is that? Can you-
This is, the one that you guys haven't seen because it was going the other way.
Okay, all right.
So there's that. Anthony Friskello.
Well, has this been investigated at all, either one of these applications in terms of the validity of what's in them?
What you see is what you get,
The
Fred.
validity,
That's what I'm asking,
validity of
though,
what
that-
is in them is fine. But what is in them is maybe a quarter of what is required.
That's what I'm
Right.
asking, though, that,
So,
so this is all we've got to go
if
on.
I look at an application and if we require 6 things and they present us with 4 of them, that's what I'm on.
Okay, but have they been notified? Where do we stand with?
They haven't been.
Well, we vote on it and then when
Okay,
we
all
have, a consensus, we decide what to do next. And in this case,
Yeah.
it'd probably be, wise to inform them of, in writing as to whether or not they got their license or didn't, if not, why. So,
Yeah, I inform them when I email everything to them, I inform them, read the directions.
Mhm.
They're very specific. They're very simple, but they're very specific. And if you can't follow the directions to do that, then we really don't need you in town as a licensed plumber.
all right, we done with
Fair
that one,
enough.
Fred? Can I take a look at it? Mr.
I want to see.
Oh, you didn't see that one? Okay. Is it Friskello?
Fresco, yeah.
The other clarification, have they asked to take the test here in Binghamton or not? Or are they trying to be waived in on the validity of the other,
We don't have a test in Binghamton, Fred. It's a nationally standardized test.
right,
that
but
can be
I
taken.
misspoke. Have they been given the option to take the test?
Yeah, anybody can take the test,
Okay,
right? You can, as I say, anyone can take the test. And if they pass the test, then they need to fill out their application and present it to the board.
okay, they haven't done that. They haven't done that.
One of the two has taken the test And you have his application. The other one took a test in Florida,
Okay, now,
which is a different test,
all right, but you're gonna follow up on that.
Well, we're gonna discuss it.
where after we vote on it.
Okay, yeah,
we'll
that's what
follow
I'm
up
saying.
on it. Yes,
Like, you see this one?
Yeah, I mean, it's,
He's got a lot of IRS forms and everything else in there.
right. I don't think he meets the qualifications either. What are these guys looking to do with this lane? Like, what, why do they want the license?
I can't question that. Why does anybody apply for a license?
No, I know, but these guys that come from out of town, it'd be nice to know what their intention is. That's all.
Well, I don't think we need to spend any more time on this, do we? I mean, you need to respond and we'll take it from there.
Oh, so we'll have to vote on it, right?
Oh, vote on it.
Yeah,
okay.
okay, so we have Anthony Friskello from 5 Mill Woods Road in Catskill, New York. Took and passed the G24 Plumbers exam, provided us with a letter saying he's got 7 years of experience working under a master plumber. He has not provided us with the W-2s that are stated in the requirements. But he did, he did give us the required years, duties performed, as well as W-2s from a master employing plumber. So we got the letter, but not the W-2 wage statements. So he can give us yeah. Provide written documentation from your employer and the duties performed as well as W-2 forms. So Anthony Friskello. Anyone in favor? Opposed? Unanimous. We're gonna write Mr. Friskello a letter letting him know that he's opposed at this point, was not approved, I should say at this point, because of these W-2 wage statements, which could either come from the employer or from himself, showing that this was actually paid work. And then the next one we have, John's holding on to, that's Richard Bragovitz, which did provide us with 4 years. So you got,
That's what I got, 4 years.
I
I don't know.
see it as 3 full years and
And a part per
there's
year.
a lot of patchwork.
Right.
3 to 4 years, but he also took the F-24 instead of the G-24N.
I believe Richard took a G24, didn't he?
Anthony Friskello took the G-24.
I'm sorry.
Richard Bragovitz took the F-24, which is a plumber's exam. It's just not the one that was indicated in the packet. It's weird, because he just took it a couple months ago. He could have taken the right one. But didn't. So anybody take a vote on Mr. Bragovitz? All in favor? Opposed? Unanimously opposed. We'll have to write him a letter explaining that he took the wrong test and we don't have 5 years of verifiable work experience. So. We're just taking a gauge of where he is at this point, giving him some feedback. The test doesn't expire. He comes back a year from now with more experience and, you know, the right test.
Yeah.
Yeah. So. He has not passed, neither one has passed a point of no return. They're just not showing qualifications at this point. Okay. Next item of business is a letter directed to you, the examining board of plumbers. And I know you've all had a copy of it and had a chance to read it, but it's basically stating what the city charter says with relations to licensing in the city of Binghamton, who's allowed to be licensed, which companies are allowed to own licenses. And it says that, it's come to the attention of Slavic and Company that people are carrying on plumbing businesses that are not in compliance with those requirements. And while they are not seeking to identify individuals or corporations at this time, they are requesting that we do our due diligence to ensure that the residents of the city receive competent plumbing work and we maintain a level playing field amongst competitors in this trade. So. We also have some visiting gentlemen with us today who may or may not wish to be heard.
So,
George Slavic, okay,
Our position here is to just inform the board that there's been particular at times where there's non-licensed plumbers that are working in the city of Binghamton. There's an enforcement of rules that are required, and all we're asking the board, and Pat, who's done a wonderful job with the plumbing inspector, some of the sites and so on, is they're doing their due diligence. I've been in the mechanical business in the Triple Cities for over 40 years. Not only licensed here, but several other areas. And there's been situations where I have knowledge, and maybe someone who also has knowledge here, that you know, you need to be a 51% owner to be able to hold a permit and work with your license here. There's employees that are working for companies who are licensed plumber, but they don't own it. To my knowledge, they don't know 51% of the business. There's a company here that's been here forever. They've been bought out twice with the firm, equity firm, which is Haneke. And I don't know if I was told they have a license there, and one of the owners do. And I'm just wondering what equity firm an owner has 51% who's a licensed plumber. That could be the case. I don't know who is, but I'd like to know who is. And again, we follow the process to, you know, go through our training, our years of work experience, whether it was through actually working for a licensed plumber or an apprentice, certified New York State apprentice program for 6 years. Then we did our due diligence. We came in here, we took the test, we applied for the test, we passed the test, we invested in business ventures of being 51% owner, which was a big investment for anyone to do in a company. And all we want is that same protection, no favors. I'm not looking for an edge. I'm just looking for everybody to enforce and follow the rules of what they are. I heard of a one-time permit. I'd like that explained to me a little bit about what does a one-time permit mean. Also, Michael throws a question about, you know, what does these people from out of town want to do to come and take a test? Well, I'll tell you what they want to do. Local contractors here are invited. Any project that comes up in the area, they call local plumbers and mechanical contractors to bid the job up front. They put all the time and effort and cost to do that. They give it to the general contractor, developer. Okay, then it sits for a while for the project to get approved. Once it gets approved, they're sending it out to rebid because they want to make their money. They're gonna get a one-time contract to come in here one time. He's gonna come in here, do a job across the street for that number that he basically went and sold out the guys that were involved and spent the money to bid it locally. Only to turn around to him to bring his crew in from Florida, who knows, to do the job and then pack up and go. I don't think that's fair at all, if you think about it. The investment that a business owner today and the risk that we're in today to even do business in New York State and the cost that rises to do cost in New York State. We gotta have, in an area that we have a rule, it's gotta really be extremely, extremely enforced. And that's it, that's simple. Someone is qualified, someone can take the test and goes through the process, it gives you from 1 to 6 items. God bless him, I wish him the best, and I'll probably compete against him or her, whatever. You know, there's certain companies in this area that if you want to know who they are, I'll be glad to share with them, whether on the record, off the record, whatever you want me to do. That I need to question and I need to understand or have you guys investigate, was this the case or was this not the case? Because there's strict rules in here for anybody that, I don't want to call it sell out your license, but in a way it is. They gotta, you know, be restricted to what their consequences are based on in what the literature is in this letter. Not trying to eliminate competition, no way. All I'm doing is I want a fair playing table with everybody. That's in the mechanical business and wants to work in this area. Really, that's it. Anthony, you might want to add?
Yeah, so my name is Anthony Capozzi. I've been a licensed plumber in the city of Binghamton since 1993. Just quickly want to tell you what I had to go through to get my plumbing license in the city. I was the first employee at Pitcher Slavic and Sons back then, put my time in and submitted an application to the plumbing board with all my time, and I was turned down to be able to take the test. So I sued the city. And Linda Kingsley was corporation counsel at the time, and she told the board, why did you turn him down? He has all the credentials, he gave you all the W-2s good to go. She had informed the board that she wasn't gonna represent them as legal counsel. They would have to get their own legal counsel, and they changed their tune. The reason why I bring that up is because it used to mean something to get a license in the city of Binghamton. And it was, you know, it wasn't easy to do. You had to put your time in and you got it. And I did, and I'm proud of that. Now I want to fast forward, and I'm going to give you specific instances where people have approached me to buy my license. Midtown Mall, Larry Gladstone. They wanted to hire me as the guy with the license to oversee everybody and allow them, their people from Maryland, I think it was called Black Rock Plumbing and Heating, to come up and do the plumbing. It was very clear to me. I don't own 51% of Black Rock, so I didn't do it. And I didn't want, and I wasn't gonna do it. Fast forward, 52 Front Street. Rochester company calls me up, wants me to do the same thing. I'm not gonna do it. Somehow, some way, miraculously, the city of Binghamton allows a plumber to come from Rochester on a one-time permit and do the job at 52 Front Street. The union rat was out there. It was a non-union company. I did my job as a licensed plumber and said, no, I'm not gonna do it. I'm not sure if I did it, that anything would have happened to me, because I don't know, you know, it probably would have, because it was such a big job. But my point is that I was approached, and then when that didn't work for them, somehow they were able to get a one-time plumbing permit, you know, into the city. Now, I believe that's a rule, right? Someone with a license in another part of the state can come here and get a plumbing permit. What the city failed to do at the time was protect George and I, and Michael, and anybody else who's a licensed plumber, because I promise you, when I go to Onondaga County and try and pull a permit, they throw me out. You didn't protect me. But they could come to Binghamton, pull a one-time permit, pull millions of dollars in payroll out of everybody's pockets here. And that happens. So I think you need to look at that part of it and make sure that we're being treated fairly, do a reciprocal. You know, if you're gonna come to Binghamton or in a city of Binghamton or Broome County to do a license and allow us to go to other places, that doesn't happen. I promise you, it doesn't happen, because I know, because I've tried to do work in Onondaga County and they don't let me. Having said that, I was recently told by a licensed plumber in the city of Binghamton, who was not gonna be named. I asked him, longtime guy, you gonna retire? I can't, how am I gonna retire? Someone wants to buy my plumbing license for $100,000. And I'm saying to myself, how do you sell that? Cause I'm a one-man shop. I'm ready to sell mine for $100,000 tomorrow. What's it gonna take? You know? That's happening out there. 100%. So like George does, we're just trying to figure out how do we make sure that someone has 51%? How do you know I still own 51% of LSC contracting? I gave you that information in 1993, but you don't know if I sold it to anybody else at this time or anything like that. You just don't have an idea. The Hahani deal, bought by a venture capitalist company. I hear the number's 5 million. Did that guy work under a licensed plumber for 6 years? That company, when they came here, are they a 51% owner? Does the license, whoever pulls the permits for Hahani, are they a 51% owner of that company? I don't know. Again, I don't consider myself having any competition in the area. I've been doing this since '93. I've never had to advertise. I have my own little niche. I'm sure anybody else here who's a licensed plumber has their niches and they're able to do business. It's not about competition. It's just about, let's figure it out and do the right thing. And if that means opening up the city of Binghamton to the Wild West, then do it, or enforce the laws as they're written. And I'll give you one more example. Aldi's in Johnson City. I had the job, licensed plumber in Johnson City, mine. Guy sending me a contract tomorrow. Contract number shows what happened. Some plumber from Rome, New York, walked into the Johnson City building and construction and convinced them to give him a license to do that job. When I called Johnson City's attorney, this were the exact words. The lady who was running, Dee Golizeski, was running the building department then. The attorney told me that Dee called her and says, what do I gotta do to get this guy licensed? What about me? The guy who took the test, who had the job. So I think we just need to clean things up a little bit here and figure out.
Yeah, we just need to enforce the rule. And we're giving you situations where these companies from out of town want a one-time job. This guy's not just gonna stay in business in this area. He's gonna take away payrolls and local companies being able, it's tough enough. It's very competitive out there. And you do your hardest to even get on the dance floor. And when you get on the dance floor, someone's behind you trying to strip you and get you off it. And that's what they're doing. Oh, they're calling up every Tom, Dick, and Harry and saying, hey, can you beat a number by this much? And that's what's happening. So, look, this is our livelihood. We live here. We've been here. We pay taxes here. We're licensed here through a process that exactly meets your criteria. All we're saying, anyone that walks in that door, anyone that pulls a permit needs to be vetted right there and not get a 1-day permit, 2-day permit. They need to be checked out. Who are you? Because there's Fancher Appliance doing work with plumbing in the city of Binghamton, and I know they're not licensed. There's Arctic Bear doing work in the city of Binghamton, and I know another company that got bought out from an equity firm that's doing work in the city of Binghamton. I see their stickers on equipment. It's not that I'm just I have nothing better to do to ride around. Who's working here? They don't need to be. I've seen it. I witnessed it. And I don't know how they're getting away with it. And it has to stop immediately.
Well, thank you, gentlemen. You brought up some very valid points, and as you know, times change and things evolve, legislation has to change with it. The point that we were at today, we actually have, let's clear up the confusion between reciprocating and getting a Class C license, okay? Reciprocating says you have a Johnson City license, you can work in Binghamton anytime without getting a special license. We reciprocate with Johnson City.
51% owned of the company.
All right, we'll get to that too.
Okay.
A reciprocating,
They have that rule in Johnson City too, believe it or not.
yeah, with Binghamton. Okay,
Right.
That is not the same as a Class C license, which allows somebody to come into Binghamton and apply for a license. They don't have to just show us the Johnson City license and everything's good. They have to apply for a Class C license, which by law, by our charter, gives them the right to do one job in a 12-month period. Okay, if that is a piece of legislation that's no longer consistent with our values and our beliefs and the way that we're doing business, it's going to require an act of city council to rewrite the legislation. If that is something that you're interested in doing, then that is something that you would want to pursue through a request for legislation. I don't know when it became a law.
That's what I was gonna ask you. When did it become a law?
I don't know.
I mean, I'm pretty sure it wasn't part of the original charter.
Well,
I don't know, but that's
Well,
a piece of legislation that if we wrongfully deny somebody the license to do a one-time job within a 12-month period, we are also subject to liability
Yeah.
brought before us, just as you did back in 93. So we can't say no if that's the law.
Say no. I didn't really understand it, only to know that we said we let other people from other municipalities come on and do a one-time job here. You know, but I'm not allowed as a licensed plumber here to go do a one-time job in, like, say, Onondaga County. So maybe the foresight back then would have been to just say, okay, if we're gonna do that, you know,
one hand washes the other.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's all.
we should be able to work in.
that was my intent,
Yeah.
is what I'm saying. Now,
I'm not, and I can see where you're coming from, that Syracuse may not have a Class C license.
Well, isn't that pretty much universal throughout the state of New York?
That's a good question, Fred. I don't know which municipalities offer the ability to get a one-time license and which ones don't.
Here's my point, though. That there's gotta be a practical way to move forward on this thing. Once you get this letter from an attorney, we gotta form a response
Mhm.
that permits this matter to be
Well, this doesn't
evaluated.
mention Class C licenses, actually.
No, I know that, but
Yeah.
irrespective of what's the particulars are.
Mhm.
We just can't ignore this. My suggestion would be that what we have to do is, A, get corporation counsel involved right away. Have them give us an opinion. That's number one. Number two, follow up, in an investigatory manner to see exactly what the allegations are, look at the permits and give us something to go on. And then we can make a decision. But it's a fundamental question to this organization. If we don't respond to this correctly, we'll be folding up this plumbing board. Because once this matter becomes a matter of public record, it's gonna be out there for discussion. And people will say, well, I don't need to bother with a license. I can maneuver around it as these other people have. So it's pretty important. I don't know what everybody thinks, but that would be my pitch, that we don't have enough information in front of us today, other than to do the two things that I asked.
Have this reviewed by Corporation Counsel and have them draft a response.
That, and also to follow up on some of these allegations. I mean, this is a matter of record. We've got a record going here today, do we
Yeah.
not?
Yeah.
So it's a matter of record. They've made a request. Pat, I don't know whether you need extra help to do this. or
Well,
what
I
your
mean,
position
when
would
you
be
talk
on it.
about investigating, you know, I'm here 7 hours a day.
I understand that, but we have to show some response to it. other
You
than-
can foil all of the plumbing permits that have been issued since I've been plumbing
No,
inspector.
no, I'm not
And there
talking,
hasn't been one issued
They-
to someone who's not licensed in the city of Binghamton.
look, they've made specific allegations today regarding certain plumbing organizations
That's what I'm saying. Arctic Bear has never been issued a plumbing permit.
who has,
Arctic Bear.
And neither is
Fancher
Fancher.
Appliance has never been issued a plumbing permit. So,
But they're doing work in the city.
and we've caught them,
Without permits.
and we've caught them.
Okay, so what's the consequences? to
Our
that?
Arctic Bear, my knowledge, I haven't caught them doing work in 3 years. All right, there's a lot of miles of roads in the city of Binghamton. I'm only one man. We do have even our code inspectors. Hey, if you see these vans, give me a holler. We can only do so much during the daytime and during the weekdays. There's only so much we can do. Right? As I said, Arctic Bear's never been issued a permit. Fancher Appliance has never been issued a permit. The C permit or the C license was before I got here 6.5 years ago.
How many have we issued? I can't recall even issuing a C license
There was 52 front, there was 435 state, it was the
Okay.
same company.
Those are both what, 5, 6 years ago?
Yeah.
50 front was completed by the time I started doing this 5 years ago. And if it was completed, it means the permit was granted a year or two before that. So
Yeah,
now we're
but-
talking 7 years.
Just to be clear, I took that up as an example to say that another plumber came from another municipality.
Oh, yeah.
Allowed to do work in the city.
Oh, yeah.
That is what it is.
But
I'm
that-
telling
yeah.
you, before they got that okay,
Yeah,
and I'm guessing that the legislation we're talking about, that added to the charter, was probably added around then. Because they were calling me, asking me to be their licensed plumber and oversee the work for a weekly paycheck. Me selling my license, that's what they had asked me to do. And I told them no, obviously. You know, so that's what we're saying there. And I think the Fancher thing and the Arctic Bear thing, what we're saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, George, is that there are licensed plumbers that either work for them directly and or are associated with them that don't own 51% of those two companies that are pulling the permits because they either work or are associated there, and the work is then being completed by the employees of the non-licensed businesses. And I didn't name the person, okay, who came to me and said, how am I gonna retire? I got somebody that wants to give me 100 grand. What I will tell you, without naming them, is one of those two companies that I mentioned was the company that the guy mentioned he was gonna get the 100 grand from. So, you know, I mean, look at if I wanna do that, I'm 58 years old, I'm ready to hang it up. If I could sell my license for 100 grand and oversee a non-licensed company and make sure that everything is done without owning 51% of it and making sure that all the work is done to the city of Binghamton standards, then why wouldn't I want to have the chance to do that? That's what we're getting at here. We believe that that's happened. And I can tell you from another quick example, this recently happened, and Pat can tell you. I did a small job on Upper 4th Street. And I have a friend who's a non-licensed plumber that I do a lot of work with around the state. We do a lot of McDonald's for a company out of Buffalo called Baldy Construction. And, my friend did the HVAC, and I got the plumbing. It was take some plumbing out and put a water fountain. Well, Mulvey took it upon themselves when they needed to get the permit, because when the city of Binghamton, gives out permits, you have to name the plumbers. They named my friend with my license number. So you guys did the right thing. You said, hey, this guy's not licensed in the city of Binghamton. That's not even his license number. That's Anthony Posey's license number, because there was a mistake in the paperwork. The process worked because you knew that he wasn't a licensed plumber and that mine was on there. So, there's the first stopgap right there, I think, is the permit and all the information that goes on it, and knowing that, and again, Pat, I understand 7 hours a day, it's hard. I'll never forget, before I got my license, Bob Plahassee was the city, I don't know if you remember Bob Plahassee. Bob came to me and literally said, if you want to do plumbing, go do it in the Wego, don't do it in Binghamton. I wasn't even doing anything bad. I think I was in a supply house, he blocked in, so that was how we dealt with non-licensed plumbers, back then. He literally told me, don't even think about going to Binghamton, go to Wego. But anyhow, I may be kind of rambling here, but I think you guys get the idea of what we're talking about.
well, I think like Pat said, we rely on you guys to be the eyes and ears for us. We can only be in so many places at once. And we have a lot of people in the city of Binghamton who want to do the right thing, who go through the steps to get their licenses, who submit the permit applications and all their drawings and everything to be reviewed and approved. In fact, we're always trying to catch up with everybody who wants to do the right thing. There's not a lot of spare time for policing. So if you have knowledge of an offense in action, giving us a call, we will respond to that, and we will do our best, to do our due diligence to investigate the complaint and act appropriately. So we do welcome tips. They can be anonymous. Nobody has to tell us, hey, it's me, Anthony, or it's me, George. You could just call it in and say, I want to let you know over on 123, Main Street, there's some activity taking place that you should be aware of, and we'll do our best to address it. As far as, Class C licensing, I don't know if it's even relevant to as to when it was adopted. The fact is, it's a avenue for getting a license, a temporary license in the city of Binghamton. If anybody feels that it should be stricken from the charter, I would encourage you to complete a request for legislation. You can pick one up in the clerk's office, and all you do is say, I am requesting that we adopt legislation to revoke the right to have a temporary license in the city of Binghamton. I don't know, the reasoning around why it's in place or how it got to be in place, but it'll be reviewed by city council, and if they deem it appropriate and they want to pass legislation to remove that option from the licensing program, then that would be their decision to do so. The board wouldn't have the right to do that without taking it to council.
No, understood.
As far as, these guys who you say, work without licenses, whether they employ somebody with a license or they, just do the work without getting permits at all. Like I said, we're open to, receiving complaints. We will investigate. We promise to act on those to the best of our ability. The last thing that you mentioned was, some companies do have licenses, but we don't know if the licensed holder is a 51% owner. I think the only license that we gave in the name of a company was proven that the individual was the owner of the company or had a significant holding. Monticello,
Pachano.
That was a honey.
yeah. He's a licensed plumber,
He's licensed.
right, and owner of the company.
Who's he?
Tom Monticello or Monticello,
Local guy.
yes.
So, and then he was licensed, but so was Bob Honey Jr., right?
Correct.
And when Bob sold the company, what we're saying here, he sold the company,
Yeah.
apparently, and I might be talking out of school here. We
Yeah.
understand that it was sold to a venture capitalist company for millions of dollars.
Yeah.
That makes them the rightful owner of the company unless
Hmm.
they came and said, Anthony, I'm gonna put 5 million into this, I'm gonna give you 51% of the company because you're the licensed plumber. And you can do business in the
Yeah.
city, because that's apparently the
That's
rule.
what we need to know. That's what we need verified.
And if it's unenforceable or you won't enforce it, and I'm not saying that you won't, or maybe it's out of hand. But change the law to say you don't have to own 51% anymore. Because I believe that it's common knowledge that at least 2 or 3 long-standing companies in Broome County that hold the city of Binghamton licenses, that their licensed master plumbers are not 51% owners.
Not uncommon in today's day and age where there's been all kinds of mergers and acquisitions, and we've actually just rescinded that law for the electrical contractors, namely because so many conglomerates are now involved in the electrical contracting business that we no longer require 51% ownership of an electrical contracting company for the electrician's license. So that was something that happened from that, is that this idea of 51 was created at a time where there was a lot of mom and pop shops. That's not the case anymore. There are enough electrical contractors who have written their own request for legislation and brought it to city council and had it passed saying, we're a big company. We have 6 million shares. Nobody owns 3 million shares of this company. And if they did, they wouldn't be an electrician. They'd be, a fat cat on Wall Street. So it doesn't make sense that you would have that rule in place anymore. And that was changed, that's an option too.
Yeah, that's why we're saying maybe it doesn't make sense, but when someone's openly out there saying, how can I retire? I can sell my business for $100 grand. If that indeed is true, that Ohani is operating with a person who doesn't own 51%, then
Yeah.
I'm gonna go out there tomorrow, or I should be able to go out there tomorrow, sell my soul to somebody for $100 grand and be their licensed plumber and have no repercussions whatsoever coming my way. So we're just asking to take a look at that and clean
Okay.
it up or.
Okay.
I don't think this whole inquiry is that mysterious. I mean, if you pursue something like this in a litigated setting, you subpoena the guy to come to your office and put him under oath and ask the questions, produce the tax returns. It's not a mysterious inquiry, I don't believe, if you do it in a legal setting, because they'll be compelled to answer. End of discussion.
So backing up a little bit, how do we get to illegal? Are you recommending that
Well,
we
what I'm
sue
saying, no,
Renegade or?
here's what I'm saying, is that it appears to me as though it's a significant issue that's not going to go away.
Uh-huh.
And that if I was sitting in Hinman's office, I would say that's the way I would proceed. Unless the city gets into a cooperative mode and does a lot of the spade work on their own.
Mhm.
He says he doesn't have the manpower to do all this, and I understand that
Yeah.
because it's fairly sophisticated, but the whole resolution will be on two tracks. One, should you just eliminate it? Or two, if you're not gonna eliminate it, conduct the investigation, and if they don't have the goods, end of discussion.
And who would make the inquiry to?
Well, the
Renegade?
lawyer could do it for
Huh?
Hinman's office.
Who could?
No,
Yeah, but he doesn't work for us. We can't ask him. to go.
No, but what I'm saying is in the midst of the litigation. In other words, let's assume for the sake of argument, we come out of this today and it's, the petition's rejected, they're not gonna do anything. All he has to do is go over to courthouse and file a petition stating that, we made this
But
inquiry.
they're asking the board to do something. They're
No,
not
no.
asking this attorney to do
No,
something.
what they're asking for is for us to respond to the allegations that have been made here.
Yeah.
But the underlying fundamental principle is gonna be determined, I believe, in a legal setting or by an agreement.
But who's legal setting?
Well, it would be in context of a petition that
From-
would be filed
From who?
by the individual plumber could do it.
Okay,
It already happened. As far as I'm concerned, this board, who today just denied 2 licenses, who could have easily approved the 2 licenses, has 2 licensed plumbers before them that are talking about licensing issues. So I think, Fred, you were right. Send it to Corporation Counsel, let them give you a legal opinion on it or whatever. I'm not looking to put anybody out of business, but I can't let someone who's a licensed plumber come up to my face and tell me that he's selling his business, his license for $100,000 to another company that we've mentioned here a number of times that apparently has been doing work in the city of Binghamton illegally. That's just like slapping me in the face. So why don't we just clean it up? Either get rid of the 51%, figure out a way to do it. Maybe you do something like Vestal, where if you want to do work at Vestal, you're filling out this thing for a year, you're paying hundreds of dollars to get that, to get that license and.
that's all that is in Vestal. It's just a contractor's license. It's just a fee. There's no testing of qualifications or competency.
100%, but what I will tell you, they do just like Pat does, they hold your feet to the fire. If you're not getting away, if you're doing a plumbing job in Vestal and you're getting it inspected, believe me when I tell you, the inspectors there are holding your feet to the fire to the extent of the plumbing, scope and whatever the laws are, you know what I mean? So I don't know what the answer is. So again, we know that these things are happening and at some point they have to be addressed. Or when I sell my license tomorrow for $100,000, please don't come down on me because,
Well, we're beating a dead horse at this
Let
point.
me ask you just this. You guys always request certificate of insurance for this, right? They have on file?
Yeah.
Why don't you send a letter with that and say, tell me who the 51% of the owners are on this license for your company? And
could do
include
that.
it with your certificate of insurance. Now, when a company comes in here and pulls a permit, all you gotta do is look for that calendar year, which they sign and even have it notarized, that they're 51% of the owners.
Let
If they
me,
can't produce that, then they can't pull a permit.
let me just do this. I'd like to make a motion to have the Corporation Counsel respond to the letter. That's number one.
A second.
All in favor?
Okay.
Secondly, I would request that we direct that that Patrick and any of his assistants investigate some of these allegations, whether by way of a letter or actually going to site, but just to give us some more information about what the actual details are. We're not going back and forth with no valid information in front of us.
Which we had 3 things. We had companies who have licenses but do not own 51% of the company. That
Yeah,
allegation
absolutely,
you would
yeah.
like us to,
Yes,
and how should we do that in your legal expertise? Should we just write a letter to
I think,
Hanahee and say, please provide us with proof
yeah,
of
I,
ownership.
look, I think it's a start. I think what we should do is we'll have another meeting, but between now and then, we can come up with some process. I think that just by writing a letter to these companies and saying,
Not the companies. You need to
Pardon?
write the letter to the licensed plumber and have that person who by your charter
Yeah.
has to own 51% of the company to employ and operate as a business in the city of Binghamton. So if you send me a letter, and you're gonna cost me money if you do, because I gotta go to my attorney at HH&K and I have to have him produce that I own either 51 plus shares of stock in my corporation.
Yeah, I-
George has gotta do the same thing, and Michael's gotta do the same thing, and every other plumber has.
Okay,
That's the
well,
deal.
could
I
you,
I
could you,
misspoke. What I meant was whoever the responsible party is, write the letter to them and have them respond accordingly. Then we got something in front of us. Either they're gonna say no or yes or somewhere in between, but at least we just going around in circles here. But if we do those two things, we'll get to the end game.
okay, so would you be able to draft a letter to Mr. Monticello requesting proof of ownership?
I can certainly do
Could
that.
you do that and then bring it to the next meeting and we'll send it
I'll
out?
just say one more thing.
Okay, yes,
Better
and
send it to everybody, Chris. You can't just send it to Monticello.
why?
You gotta send it to every licensed plumber. Because I also made a statement here saying that I think it's common knowledge that other plumbers, that other companies are employing licensed plumbers that aren't 51% owners. It's not fair to just do it to him. You don't know today whether I own 51% of my company. You're taking my word for it.
Well, I think a lot of this. will
Is that a
be-
reasonable request to send a
Yes.
letter out to every plumber in the city of Binghamton, every
Not-
licensed
No,
plumber?
what I would do is I wouldn't go,
Draft one letter and send it out.
yeah,
Or the people that have pulled
So they-
permits in
so
the
they-
last year, maybe,
So
because I'm
there's
sure there's a
lot.
lot of master plumbers out there that haven't
What- I
pulled
think- what
permits
do we
in
got here,
years.
Ted? About 300?
Well, they may not have, but then that's. an option
look,
for them to tell you that.
before
Yeah.
we go nuclear, why don't we
Yeah.
just send out a few of them to the ones that we think are offending the situation?
Do
They've
we-
been mentioned here, and then at the
But
next
we
meeting,
are,
we'll see what that
but
produces.
these other two companies are making no claims of having licenses. They
Yeah,
don't,
we
they
don't
don't
need to-
claim to have a
We
license.
don't need
We're not
to
gonna
bring it
ask
to-
them how much of the
But
company
here,
they own.
The corporation council, when they get the letter from HH&K, will have to respond to the inquiry, and by doing so, will flush out what the issues are.
Listen, we know, I mentioned Arctic Bear, we know that they never pulled from in the city of Houston. Have verified last 3 years, right? Arctic Bear,
They've
Never
called
pulled it.
mechanical permits, yes.
but not plumbing.
Yeah.
No plumbing. permit.
Right.
They tried,
Okay,
and they named a third party as their
Licensed plumber.
licensed plumber, who I just happened to work for 20 years ago. And I gave him a phone call and he said, he actually sent me a letter that said he has nothing to
see
do with
that? So,
that company.
so he did his due diligence there. and
Yeah.
That's what we're asking to do.
Yeah, but to do due diligence, I mean, just backing up 5 minutes and again, not to beat a dead horse. But if we're gonna send a letter to every licensed plumber. Asking them to submit proof that they own 51% of the company, they're gonna send that back to us. Now, who investigates that?
Let's see what they do.
If he's owned by a New York City firm, they're gonna send us back this much paperwork.
You gotta,
Your corporate counsel's got to.
we did, yeah, the lawyers have to look at it. We didn't create.
Someone's got to
the
enforce
problem.
the rule.
I mean,
That's why
easy
the
way
rule
out,
is.
the easy way out is to convince corporation council and city council to change the law, then everybody's free. and
That
clear.
too,
And
but
everybody's free and clear, but what I'm saying is that it is, the city is not operating by the way the charter is written. And when I say that, I'm not saying you guys are complicit with what's going on. If there's just isn't an apparatus in place to make sure that 51% owners of the companies are employing and pulling permits in the city of Binghamton, there just isn't. We've admitted that, we've talked about that. That's why I'm saying, if you want to pick on Monticello and Arctic Bear and everybody, and just pick them out.
it's
Go
all,
right ahead. I don't know that I would do that. I'd ask your lawyer before you did that. Look, I'm putting myself on the line here, how do you know? How do you know that I own 51% of my company?
we've gone over that 4 times now. What I'm saying is, when the corporation council gets this letter, those issues will have to be addressed, and then we'll have a more definitive answer from the city. And we can produce whatever other information we've got to see what it is, but we're just spinning our wheels now because we don't have enough information in front of us. But I do believe this will be a very, very important issue that'll resolve a lot of questions that I've always had with regard to this 51% rule. But let's just proceed to do that. Call it a day for today.
But
I second that motion.
yeah, the past example that you just gave with our third party. We gotta be careful that, if you do change the law. Or take.
I don't have a lot.
That you don't need to.
Nay, neither.
You just need to hire a plumber to be on your staff.
This is, keep this.
Yeah, but that person becomes,
Keep that for your file.
How do other jurisdictions do it? We're not just a, you know.
By the rule, Code of Ithaca, forget about. it.
No,
Now you-
my point is they must have in place a strategy to control this issue. And so all we do is we find out what they do.
Millions of dollars worth of work. into it.
Look at I,
And Oneonta,
it could be.
I
just-
know
it could
that,
be
I see the
mechanical.
trucks running up
Because
there.
I'll tell you what, yeah. Ithaca is very, very hard to do plumbing without a license.
Go out to
I know,
Long
what
Island
Ithaca saying?
to do
51%,
plumbing.
nobody knows.
Are you kidding
I
me?
don't know.
I don't know.
You don't
I've done
know.
work there,
If you
but
mentioned Oneonta and Binghamton are reciprocal. There's a number of licensed plumbers in the city of Binghamton that have
I
never
don't
taken
think-
the test here.
we
that took it in
reciprocal?
Oneonta
No.
because-
Yeah, now you're beating a dead horse from 20 years ago.
yeah,
No, I
we're
know, I'm just
not,
saying, I'm just saying, that's an example. of how
it's not like
got
that
the
anymore though.
licenses.
Oneonta
Right, that's what
license
I'm
isn't
saying.
good in Binghamton anymore.
Yeah, cause I think the last one was, someone around here got with you guys declined him here, I guess, and he went to Oneonta, took the test, and now. You had to give him, because we had a reciprocal.
That was the last one though.
That, it won't happen again.
Yeah.
That was the last one.
We've taken care of that.
Yeah, look, and I don't care if you become a licensed plumber here, good, just follow what I'm 51% plus, and everybody else needs to be too. Because if not, I want to sell my license tomorrow for $100,000, because I know that there's companies out there coming from out of town. And I say I want to do it, I would never do it, because if you take it food out of people's mouths here, big companies like these two own unions, letting these companies come from Rochester and Buffalo and do millions of dollars worth of work here, come on. It's just,
Have you got that all down so we can wrap up here? Because I think we've done all we could do for today.
yeah, I could talk for 100 hours. I really gotta go. Thank you very much.
I know you could. That's what scares me.
No, so, okay, we appreciate your time. This is very important.
Well,
It's
we
something that has
we
to-
meet every month. We should be able to turn it around within a month.
Well, that's good. I'd like to get follow-ups and. Like you said.
Yeah, you can, if we get a
Right.
response from the corporation council,
Every month
send
or
them a
so.
copy of it.
Yeah.
I'll do it.
Every March.
Maybe.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you,
Thanks
gentlemen.
for letting us
Okay.
know.
All right.
You're con-
It sounds like we've concluded with new business. Does anybody want to make a motion to adjourn?
I will. I
So
second.
Second the motion.
Let's
Meeting
go,
adjourned.
Let's
Thank
go,
you.
get our glasses on.
Yeah.
What time's that?
It's dark out.